So we've had a little bit of progress today. Didn't have too much time free today. Sundays are generally pretty busy for me, but I did manage to build this door, paint it, and get some of the wire on the front, hanging on there too as well. Get all the latches and things on there. It's actually looking pretty good. I actually wasn't going to go with this kind of wire on the front, but after going with this section here and saying, oh, that actually looks really good. Bigger holes, better for the feathers and stuff to sort of drop out, fall out, easier for me to keep clean. Just because you can see the smaller wire in the back there really catches those smaller feathers. And I'm trying to simplify things. I don't want to be here every second of the day trying to clean this and whatnot. I want it to be as simple, easy as possible. So I went with the larger wire with the PVC black coating on it, which looks pretty good. It's a little bit more expensive, but the actual effect of it looks pretty good as well. So we will continue that along here as well over the coming week or two, depending on how much time I do have, because I've got to go back to work this week. And then we will do the same with this door on this side as well, and probably get some more to put up here as well, because originally I was thinking about putting a sliding door up here, putting the hanger, but then I went with the thicker wire, and obviously it sits out a bit more and the door wouldn't run so much across there, and I can't put it on this back side because I want a little bit of a shelf sunning area for the birds. So I went with the hinge version, which I'm pretty happy with. I think it'll be fine. I'm just using a few bits and pieces. All this stuff's off the old loft, so I just sort of utilised it on here. I've got some stainless steel hinges. I've actually only had two, so I've got to buy one more to put in the middle here. Probably doesn't need it, but I think, you know, it will give it a little bit of extra strength and stop it warping as much. And I may get some black spray paint and just paint all these little things, the screws, so they don't stand out as much. I do really like black. I like those modern black wood kind of contrast, so we probably will see some type of thing up here that's going to be pretty good. Maybe even put the Maney Lofts logo up here as well, and the birds will trap in here. I don't know, I want to close this off a bit so the birds can't see through. They can only see through where they're going to drop in. So that's very soon on the cards anyway. The next thing I need to do is get this door set up. I have built this door, but I've just run out of this wire. I wasn't planning to use this wire, this real PVC coated mesh the way that I have. I was only going to run it along the bottom like this height all the way across, mainly to prevent foxes getting in. I've never had any problems, but I don't want any problems, so that's why I went. But then I thought, oh, it actually looks really good. We'll just run it all the way at the top. So I need to go buy a few more sheets of that, so we might even looking at running it in through these sections as well. But I did manage to get this door together here, and it's just sitting there at the moment. It's all painted and whatnot, but yeah, it's looking pretty good. I'm actually pretty happy how that's all turning out. And we've got all the birds in here. I got to get in here shortly, give them a bit of a feed. And these are the feathers I'm talking about. These little downy ones, a couple times a year they generally lose quite a few of them, and you will see that they do get sort of caught everywhere. You can see them all down through the back section there as well. So trying to just keep it as simple as possible and easy for me to clean, and that means a lot nicer for the birds. You can see how it all gets caught in here. Like, you're never going to stop all these things, but the bigger wire generally has a reduction in that. All in all, I'm starting to be pretty happy with how this is turning out. Really actually like this section, this big, kind of like an aviary, but it's more just an extension for the loft, so that we can kind of accommodate more birds. I'm hoping that we can probably fit 15 to 20 in each section. Maybe, not sure, down the back. The young birds will try and cram as many in as we can, because I really want, when I fly, to fly more older birds. I don't want to be flying young birds all the time. I'd like to have more reliable older birds that are a bit more smarter, and you know, they've been out in the racetrack and the truck and all that kind of stuff. So we'll try and cram more in here. Still not sure with motivation sections. Like I did mention before, I've got 12 plastic widowhood fronts coming, but they're going to be some time, because they're coming from England or somewhere like that. So I'm going to expect there's going to be a few months before they turn up. I was thinking about putting them in here, but still undecided, but it can wait really. It's not overly important that we make that decision right now anyway, but we will have them when they do turn up in the next month or two, and we'll just put them over in the shipping container or the shed until we figure out what we're doing with those. We may even looking at just building a widowhood loft, maybe even just enough to fit all those nest boxes in there, because the fronts that I got are like 74 centimeters, and it's probably a bit much. I wanted the 54 ones, but yeah, I tried to fix the area because I actually ordered the wrong ones by mistake. So hopefully the smaller ones turn up. I did send them a message, but they didn't write back to me. So we'll get there. The only thing with widowhood, it's really good for here, flying local, but I really want to become like a competitive one loft flyer, and that really is totally different than this kind of flying, because you're only breeding young birds and then you're throwing those young birds in the one lofts. Because basically, I swear, every time I look on Facebook or go through like pigeon groups and stuff, there's like a new one loft race popping up all the time in Australia. So there is, I think there's 4 or 5, but correct me if I'm wrong if there's other people in Australia that are watching this, but I'd really like to get right into one loft. So probably won't get into it this year because we really need to ramp up our birds, but I'd say next year I'd really like to enter a couple of birds in all these different one lofts, because they're all in different parts of Australia. We don't have one in this state, but all the other states seem to. And every state's different because Australia is so big, and all the different racing conditions, all different temperatures and weather, and all types of variables as well. So it'd be really good to get involved in that, because there is like a very tight crew of guys that just fly one loft races, and they seem to do really well, some of those guys. So I'd really be interested in focusing on that in the coming years, just because life gets busy. So yeah, that's something I'd like to do as well with racing local. I don't want to race every single race locally, but I'd really like to test all the birds out and try and get us ramped up for that some one lofts later on, maybe next year, just because life will get busy, and I still want to fly those birds and test them out against the best birds across all of Australia. That gives you a really good indication of your birds and things like that, and how you're breeding and stuff. So pretty excited. That's just something we'll look at. Maybe we may squeeze 1 or 2 in one loft this year. I'm just not sure how we'll go financially, because we're spending a lot of money on birds and clocks and lofts, so we'll just see. Now I'm going to try and involve you guys as much as possible in showing you all the young birds and like how they go as they progress as well. I like to try and document everything. So I'm going to show you one bird that I'd actually really like. And it's pretty easy for me just to sit here and talk about them without really properly showing them to you, because I'm always in the loft with these guys. So this is, I always talk about this one and I show him and things like that, but we haven't really had like a really good look at him. I'd say it's a cockbird anyway. He's actually a beautiful bird. The father is Pure Houben. He's from, probably, in my opinion, one of the better flyers in my state. He's very consistent and very strong flyer. So that's why I sort of held on to it. I was thinking about getting rid of that cockbird actually, just because we had so many birds coming in, but I thought I'd give him a bit of a chance, and we waited to see what this baby turned out like. It's got a nestmate as well. There's a blue bar in there, but this one's by far the standout one. The mother is one of Leon Storm's babies. So it's a bit of a mix. It's got a bit of Hermans in it, a bit of Houben, and a bit of Gaby. So there's a fair old mix in there. It's starting to molt as well. You can see some of the feathers are starting to come out, and he's starting to look a little bit scruffy. But he's actually quite a nice bird. It's got that really nice muscle wedge shape, which I like. I'm only trying to breed that 500 kilometer bird as well, and that kind of leads into being reasonably competitive in one loft races. I'm just trying to build a very strong bird that's reliable, which we've definitely got the strong reliable part on it, but we just need to figure out some speed. But it could be motivational things as well, because I have been testing these Leo Storm babies for the last 2 years in my friend's loft. So this coming season will be our first season in flying these ourselves, so it'll be interesting to see how they go. But this is just one of them. Really interested to see how he turns out. And I need to get him back in there, but you can just see it's going to turn into quite a nice bird actually. got quite a nice bit of muscle on the keel and stuff like that, which for young birds is good. I like that. This means they develop quicker. A lot of the Euro birds that I see, they develop really quickly, muscle-wise and things like that, where some of my more Australian ones, or not as the more modern Euro ones, are a bit slower in maturing. These ones just, some of these turn out like super muscly straight away. They must come out of the egg like this. So that's it. I need to get in here, give these guys a bit of a feed now, because it is getting a bit later in the day. Really happy how things are turning out with the loft. Much bigger project than I first thought, but I'm not really rushing it this time. I'm just taking my time and making sure I get all the doors nice and perfectly in line and no little patchy bits and things like that. So yeah, very happy. It's just a big project, so it's going to take quite a few more weeks yet, because we really need to do all this front section. Then we'll get into the perches in these areas, and then we need to get into each individual section. We've got to finish off painting, and also need to do perches in both these first two sections for the young birds, and then we'll move into these two second sections for the older birds as well. So lots to do, but I will see you all in the next video.